Hello, this is Amanda Corney with Jesus Script. Welcome back to my world of Jesus Wonder. I have Hollywood on my mind today, and I'm going to connect it to my Godwood life, which is really what I most love to express creatively is the life of God, and to impart that to you. Last night I was reading the book of Samuel and covering aspects of David's life. David was the young shepherd boy who later became a tremendous worshiper and more, but he was the one who killed the giant Goliath with one act of a slingshot. And in my reading last night, there was a spot on hearing God, or one thing that stood out to me and made me think about a movie I once saw, a Hollywood movie by, it wasn't by, but it's called White Men Can't Jump. And it stars two lead actors, Wesley Snipes, who is black, and Woody Harrelson, who is white. And in the movie, there's a particular scene where they're kind of teasing one another about their soulful perceptions, or their abilities to understand equally with one soul, with one being white and with one being black. Jimi Hendrix came on the radio, and Wesley Snipes was teasing Woody Harrelson about his ability to hear Jimi Hendrix. Okay, I mean, he basically remarked how Woody could listen. He could listen to Jimi Hendrix, but he couldn't hear Jimi Hendrix. Hearing him was entirely different, because hearing had something to do with sort of understanding his soul and not just listening to some chaotic riffs on an electric guitar, something wild and kind of unmanageable. And so they had this argument about that capacity, and there was this distinction between listening and hearing. And so I am relating that today to relationship with God and knowing about God, and listening to him versus hearing him. And there is a difference, because there are many of us that listen to God, have heard his words being expressed, but there's something that we are still not able to hear. When we listen to his words, we're not able to interpret his soul, his nature, his desire. And that capacity to hear God is enacted by a soulful relationship with him, an intimacy that is spent dwelling with him. Just like if you bought all of Jimi Hendrix video or records, music, and you embarked on this journey to really understand the roots of his music, to understand his motivations, his excitements, his passion, his desire to break boundaries, which God is always wanting to express a breaking of boundaries in us. That's why he wants us to hear his voice rather than just listen to it. And of course, hearing God has nothing to do with race, because he loves people of all nations. So really it has more to do with a willingness to connect, And so ultimately, Woody Harrelson, I think, kind of won the note on that. He could hear Jimi Hendrix because he was willing to connect with the music. It had nothing to do with his color. All he had to do was connect, and he could hear equally the soulfulness of Jimi Hendrix. And likewise, anybody who desires to connect with God can hear him soulfully and understand his desire to free and to love. And I want to encourage you today to, when you hear Jimi Hendrix, remember Jesus, because Jesus is in the cool and he loves electrifying sounds. He loves to express his wild love in passionate ways and creative ways. And it's not limited to religious profile. That he can be heard through many peoples of all life. But the way that we make these connections is to still connect with him in his word and to understand what he esteems and what he prizes. Just like Jimi Hendrix, maybe there are certain things in his lifestyle that God wasn't crazy about, but he loved Jimi, he loved Jimi's guitar because he was free and wild, and God loves wild. He loves passion, but a wildness that's directed. And so even though Jimi Hendrix expressed these wild sounds, they had a mission, they had a purpose. And that's what God is calling us into when he invites us to hear him into his purpose, into our purpose. Live on purpose today. Hear Jimi, hear Jesus.